Hi there. It's that time of year again. That time when we pull down the old calendars, put up the new ones. When that happens, a lot of people send out a wish. Most of them boil down to one sentence. I wish for God's blessings on your life and health and happiness and prosperity. While there's a place for that, as born-again believers, I don't think that shouldn't be the crux of what we wish for ourselves and for fellow believers. While it's okay to wish people good and blessings and prosperity and health, as born-again believers, that shouldn't necessarily be our main purpose in life, I don't think. I've heard it said that as born-again believers, this world is as close to hell as we're ever going to experience. And for everybody else, this world is as close to heaven as they're ever going to experience. So wanting to fit into this world and be happy here is not something I look for. I expect this life to be hard. And part of that is God is developing me to try to, as His adopted son, draw closer to Him. He wants me to rely on Him more and my own energy and abilities less. So in doing that, a lot of hardship's going to come in life. Things are not going to work out like I want. I mean, people will, well, what about that verse in Jeremiah where I know the plans I have for you, plans for a hope and a future and everything, and that's not a personal promise that we can bank on. That was a promise made to the nation of Israel. It was conditional on them living by the law that God had laid down for Him to bless them and make them prosperous, which they were not able to do on their own power. That's why Jesus ultimately came to this earth, God taking on a human body. All you got to do is read 1 Peter to find out how much suffering was involved there that the first century church was going through. That's what we should expect. Personally, I am not going to offer you a wish of health and prosperity this year. I mean, if you're in that season, God has you there, go for it. I mean, that's good. But that could be an indication that Satan sees you as no threat. If you're just coasting along and enjoying life and not doing anything for the kingdom, Satan's going to say, leave that guy alone. We got other people to worry about. It's when you're trying to step out there, you're reaching people for God. You're telling people about Jesus and who He is and what He has to offer them. That's when Satan's going to step in and make your life miserable. This whole idea of Romans 8:28, all things will work together for good. Your definition of good is important to think about here. Because we like to think of good as being, everything is good. You're healthy, all your bills are paid, you live in a nice neighborhood. That's not God's definition of good that He's looking for. I've seen a few translations that actually put a comma at the end of verse 28, tying in verse 29 as one sentence, which I like. What that pulls out is that the good that God is looking for is that we become more like Jesus. So our life experiences are meant to be hard so that we change from the depraved people that we are and we become more like Jesus. That we develop more of an attitude of reaching out to others because we know what it feels like to be in pain. And once we've gone through some suffering, then we can help other people going through the suffering. I've heard people who go through cancer and their body is just racked with pain and they lose a lot of weight and energy, and they all come back with the same basic sentiment when they're done. They wouldn't wish that they had gone through that, but now that they have gone through it, they're so grateful that they have because that has drawn them closer to God in a way that they never thought possible. They thought they were walking close to God before, but after all that suffering and pain, they learned to depend on God that much more. So their relationship with God is a lot closer. And that should be our goal in life. Not happiness here and now, but becoming more like Jesus so that we can tell others about Him in a more meaningful way. So my wish for you is for, as Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, when it all boiled down to one sentence, He said, "Not my will, Father, but your will be done." So my prayer for you in 2017 and every year that comes afterwards, God's will for your life. And I pray that that makes you more like Jesus and draws you a lot closer to God. Because in the end, our citizenship is not here. It's in heaven with God. So keep that in mind. I'll see you later.